ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا ومن سيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله صلوات الله وسلامه وبركاته عليه. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. ما بعد فإن خير الكلام كلام الله وأحسن هدي محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم وشر الأمور محدثاتها وكل محدثة بدعة وكل بدعة ضلالة كل ضلالة في النار. As we continue in Kitaab At-Tawheed, 7:41 p.m. Masa al-Khamis, 7:41 p.m. Wednesday, September the 18th, 2019, which in agreement with the Hijri calendar, which is now Masa al-Khamis, التاسع عشر من شهر الله المحرم عام 1441. Is now the year, or correlates with the month as far as the Hijri calendar, was now Masa al-Khamis, the evening of Thursday. The evening of Thursday, which is now the 20th of Shahr Allah al-Muharram, the year 1440 after the Hijrah of Mustafa alayhi salatu wassalam. As we concluded the chapter, speaking about how this ummah will worship idols. As we concluded that and established this matter based upon the tremendous narration of the Prophet ﷺ on the authority of Thawban. As we concluded that lesson and we extracted all the benefits from it, and I hope that everyone understood properly. Like I said, everyone, this book is of the utmost importance. A lot of the Muslims fall into what they fall into because of their negligence in these particular usul, in these foundations. No matter what it is. Even when we'll start to now cover affairs about the qadr and the affairs about even becoming amazed at oneself based upon what one has been given of worldly things. It's a type of shirk if you ascribe that ni'mah to other than Allah. If you even to the point where you used to ascribe it to yourself and say, this is my money, this is from me. This is me right here. You'll find that when you ascribe the bounty or blessing that Allah is giving you to yourself, it could be a form of polytheism. Because the bounty is only for Allah. As Allah Ta'ala says in His book, وَمَا تَكُمْ بِنِعْمَةٍ فَمِنَ اللَّهِ. He says you don't have anything of any blessing that you have except it is from Allah. No matter what it is. Whether it's sight, whether it's hearing, whether it's intelligence, whether it's strength of your body, no matter what type of talent you've been given, or what you've been given. And all those affairs we're going to cover, inshallah. The majority of people, what they fall into is, like I said, and we'll cover this, especially what has reached me, of how a lot of people are involved in zodiac sign, or the beliefs in zodiac signs, which I'll talk about when the time comes, which shows their lack of knowledge in the monotheism of Allah. As they fall into exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرَهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, He said a lot of them do not believe in Allah, or rather they do believe in Allah, except at the same time they're still committing polytheism. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. So the majority of them that believe in Allah, you'll find they don't believe in Him except that they are what? Setting up partners with Him in His worship, even though they say they believe. So you'll find, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa, in regards to the zodiac signs, we'll talk about that as that's going to come, inshallah. But another affair which we're going to speak about, and I look forward to speaking about in this chapter because I have a lot to speak about. I have a lot to cover. Except that this chapter, which is covering as-sihr, which is covering magic. So after we concluded this chapter, that some of the Ummah of Muhammad ﷺ will worship idols, where I think that is self-explanatory for those who believe in zodiac signs, except that this chapter applies to them. The chapter we just covered applies to them. That some of this Ummah will worship idols. So when you believe in zodiac signs, know for sure that this chapter that we've been covering for the past week applies directly to you. That some of this Ummah who say La ilaha illallah Muhammad Rasulullah, except that you'll find that they'll fall into idolatry, into polytheism, which, like we said, in detail we'll cover inshallah. So the next chapter, brothers and sisters, if we flip the page, you'll find the chapter where it comes in Babu ma ja'a fi sihr, the chapter which comes in or explaining magic. As you'll find that the connection of this chapter, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa, that is all connected with what is preceded. You'll find that everything we've been covering explains La ilaha illallah in detail. For the past year, everything we've been covering, or we have covered, it gives the meaning of La ilaha illallah in detail, given different types of polytheism and the forms that they come in, and how they can creep in to one's monotheism in order to attain it. You'll find that we said, for example, of all the different types of chapters, or different types of things we have explained, which is a lot. Except you'll now find that the great Imam speaks about something that will also nullify your Islam, and it will also make you fall into disbelief, where this is a deep type of disbelief, which is called magic. Salam. Tafadal. Don't forget to pray to the cats. Pray to the cat. You don't. If he doesn't know, then leave him. This is brother. Is your other brother? There's more than one. Is your other brother? Except you'll find, Ya Ma'ashal Ikhwa, in regards to sihr, which is also a different type or another type of disbelief. Rather, you'll find it is from the most destructive of all sins. As we'll talk about, inshallah, how sihr is from the 7 great destructive sins that will destroy a person in this world and the hereafter. And sihr will nullify Islam, as we're going to talk about, inshallah. Especially if it's the type where one is utilizing the shayateen, the devils, to do his dirty work. And if it's a type of incantation or a talisman or some type of language which is extremely strange, or a person cannot identify its meaning, and it's, for example, tied around, whether it be your body or on a wall or what have you. All those different types of affairs, like we'll talk about, is a deep form of disbelief. And it will nullify Islam, and your person will be in the hellfire forever if he practice this type of magic. We'll talk about all the different types as they're going to come, inshallah. As we know that sihr is a type, first of all, it's a type from the different types of shirk. Magic is a type of polytheism. It's a type of shirk. And for that reason, you'll find that the great Imam, that he put this in the chapter, or he put this chapter in the book. Because magic, there's no way that one can attain its so-called, its true benefits, except by the way of the shayateen, except by the way of the devils, meaning the unseen shayateen. and even some from the ins, from human beings. Because we know there are shayateen, from the jinn and the ins, there are shayateen. But however, a person who practices magic cannot attain, of course, his so-called benefits except by the way of the shayateen. For verily you'll find that magicians or sorcerers, what they'll do is they'll humble themselves and render themselves subservient to the shayateen, meaning they'll make themselves bow down to them and humble themselves to them until when they ask for their help, they will aid them in their sihr and their magic. Especially if a person does an act of disbelief in which the shayateen love. For example, they'll ask you to do acts, especially from the Muslims. For example, they'll tell the sahir, or the one who's a magician or a person who's practicing magic, to pray without wudu. Pray without wudu. Or, for example, we're going to talk about that inshallah. Now, you'll find that the people will do this, an act of kufr, or an act of something that is of deep disbelief. And if you do that act, the shayateen will draw close, and then they will what? Service you, and they will aid you. Don't worry about all these examples that's going to come. For sahara, you'll find, or the magicians, they'll humble themselves and render themselves subservient to the shayateen, in which they'll seek their help. So, as a regards, or as if you want to say, as a reciprocal, they'll give them their service and aid them. Meaning, the magicians, the shayateen, will do something for them and service them. As long as they do an act of disbelief or something that is considered deep levels of disbelief and kufr with Allah Ta'ala, and what will be the reciprocal is what? They'll service you. That's what we're going to talk about, inshallah. طيب. You'll find, ya ma'ashal ikhwa, that the meaning of sihr in regards to the language, everything that is hidden, and the reason for it, okay? Anything that is hidden, the meaning of sihr in the Arabic language is anything that is hidden, ma khafiya wa latufa sababuh, where the reason for it is concealed and hidden. The reason for something is concealed and hidden. Don't worry, I'm going to explain it. The reason for something being there is concealed and hidden. Ma khafiya sababu. We're going to discuss the meaning of it. Why? Due to the fact you'll find in the Arabic language that the morning time in the Arabic language is called sahar. Waqt as-sahar, meaning that the end of the night where the day is about to start. So why is the last part of the night called sahar, or waqt as-sahar? Why is it called that, everyone? Because the actions in this time of the night, especially if you jawf al-layl, and the last part of the night, usually when actions, any type of actions generally, that is usually hidden because it's in the depths of the night. So that's why you find that they call it waqt. They call it waqt as-sahar, the time of sahar, where the last part of the night, just where the day begins. Because the actions that are done from people usually are hidden because it's what, everyone? Because it's dark. You alright? You good? Mm-hmm. You understand, everyone? I'll say it again. Sihr in the Arabic language is everything in which the reason is concealed or hidden. The reason for something is concealed and hidden. For that reason, you'll find that sahar, the word sahar, not sihr. Sahar is another derivative, that's all. Sahar, as you'll find in the Quran, وَبِالْأَسْحَارِ هُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. Notice Allah Ta'ala says in Surah Al-Dhariyat, وَبِالْأَسْحَارِ هُمْ يَسْتَغْفِرُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that from the ways of the righteous is during the ashar, meaning the waqt as-sahar, you'll find that they were what? Seeking Allah's forgiveness. In the last part of the night and in the early morning. He says during that time you'll find that they were seeking Allah's forgiveness. Notice Allah said in this Quran, in the book, وَبِالْأَسْحَارِ, ashar, which is the plural for sahar. Meaning that time in the morning, at the end of the night, and in the morning time, you'll find that they were what? Seeking Allah to be with Allah's forgiveness. So the word, why is it called sahar, or the time of sahar? Why? Because anything that's usually done in that night, or that part of the night, is hidden. The actions are what? Hidden. So that's why it's called what? The time of sahar. Just if you want to add to that, or in addition to that, is the meaning of sahur. Sahur. Why is it called sahur, everyone? Because it's consumed in the last part of the night. It's consumed in the last part of the night. And for that reason, it's usually somewhat hidden, due to the fact that it was done in this time of the night, where people were what? Consuming it. And it's in the night where everyone is in their homes, and it's usually a meal that is what? That is hidden. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Focus. That's the reason why, if we want to sum up everything, we say that everything in which its reason is hidden is called, linguistically, sihr. It's called sihr. Right, that's the linguistic meaning, not the meaning as far as the Kitaab and Sunnah. That's the linguistic meaning. As for in the Kitaab and Sunnah, Musa, as for the meaning of sihr in the Kitaab and Sunnah, it means al-awwal uqad wa ruqan. It is knots that are made or incantations. Knots that are tied or made. As you'll find that certain people that practice magic, you'll find that they tie knots and they'll blow on it or spin on it. That's from some of their ways, not all of them. They used to tie knots. And that's the reason why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said in this Quran, what? To seek refuge. وَمِن شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ. And I seek refuge in the one who blows on the knots. مِن شَرِّ النَّفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ. Let's talk about the women here, who blow in the knots. نَفَّاثَاتِ فِي الْعُقَدِ. The one who blows in the knots. So that is one of the meanings of the word sihr as far as in Kitab and Sunnah. That they are uqad and ruqan. They are knots and they are formulas or incantations. If you want to stick to incantations, meaning spells. If you want to say for lack of better words. Either knots or spells. Or spells. Spells you'll find which are readings or talismans or weird type of words that are structured or what have you. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? I think everyone kind of knows what I'm speaking about. From all the different things they have witnessed. Whether they be readings, spells, weird types of words, in which is in another language that's not recognizable by certain people, of course, in which the magician, by this way, utilizes the shayateen in what he wants as far as harming the one, in which the spell was cast upon. So the person who's the magician utilizes the different types of methods in order to harm the mashur, in order to harm the one he wants to what? He wants to cast a spell upon. So for that reason, we say in regards to what? The sihr, if one does this, he has fell in some deep levels of disbelief. Where he utilized the shayateen to do his dirty work and to harm an individual. And to harm a person. We'll talk about the different effects of sihr. As sihr had affected the Prophet ﷺ, but it affected him in his body, not in his aql. That's what we're going to talk about, inshallah. It affected him in his body. It did not affect him in his mind. It did not affect him in his intellect. We'll talk about that, inshallah. It affected him في بدنه أثر في بدنه دون عقله. It affected him in his what? His body, but not in his mind or his intellect. عليه الصلاة والسلام. All that we're going to talk about, inshallah. But first thing one needs to realize as we're talking and discussing about the first category, which is that first number one, what is magic, everyone? They are knots that are either tied or blown upon, or they're spells or incantations. Spells or incantations. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? So that's the first category, just to sum it up. The second category is different concoctants that are made, for example, of medicines or formulas or what is put in someone's food. Is it clear what I'm saying? Formulas or concoctants, liquid forms. Or even, as they say, so-called in the form of medicines. But in actuality, it's magic. Is it clear what I'm saying? It's the second type of what? That's the second type of magic, which also affects the one who they want to harm. And it can affect his mind. It can affect one's mind. It can affect his intention. And it can affect his inclinations. What do we mean by that? For example, a person would take some type of concoctant or some type of liquid where a person is practicing magic. They'll consume it, then you'll find that he conducts in a very weird way. It can affect his mind, it can affect what he intends, and it can affect certain inclinations. What do I mean by that? For example, you'll find, just give a couple of examples just now, where you'll find that when a person has been affected by magic, they have different types, which is called sarf or altaf. Sarf meaning, if a person is affected, where they might have been in love with their wife, or they might have no relationships or problems in their relationship. Then you'll find all of a sudden, after he took this concoctant, he doesn't want to be with her anymore. He doesn't want to be anyone. Rather, he wants to flee away from her. Is it clear what I'm saying? What they call that sarf, where a person doesn't desire her anymore. I don't desire you. Or it can happen to the woman, to her husband. So it can make a person, maybe that was your loved one or your spouse or your wife, you didn't have any problems, for example. Any problems amongst yourselves. Until this person took this concoctant, and as a result of it, he or she found her husband, or she didn't find her husband, or her husband didn't find his wife desirable anymore. So that, everyone, affected his mind, affected his intention, and affected his inclination. This can happen. And you have the opposite effect, what they call altaf, where you'll find that a person might take a concoctant and he'll fall madly in love with a person until they become what? What they call, they've been afflicted with what they call ilah. Where they now have been left to the point where, what is it? Where they become obsessed with that person. That's the word ilah. Where a person now becomes obsessed with a particular woman. Magic can also do that to one individual. If he takes the concoctant and make a person fall madly in love with that woman, or that woman with that man, to the point where what? Until they become obsessed. Magic is very dangerous. It can lead to not only harming one's body, or harm one's inclination, or not only that, it can harm one's mind, and it can even lead to murder. It can drive a person insane, and it can also kill an individual. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? What? As far as what? Oh, the second one? The second one is just what they call adwiya wa aqaqir. It's just medicines, concoctants, and something that's put in liquid form or formula. That's all. It's called adwiya or aqaqir. Aqaqir, which is medicines, liquid things that are done in liquid form, concoctants, formulas, the likes of that. Whether it be blood, or whether it be mixed with something, or it's put in someone's food. I think it's clear. Is it clear, everyone? So the first type is what? If you want to say, just to make it clear, difference between the first and the second. The first you'll find is spells, incantations. You'll find stuff written. Person takes a knot, ties it. Or you'll find different types of instruments. Such a weird type of instruments that you'll find. We'll talk about that. That's going to come, inshallah. So it's not just restricted to knots or spells. It's also restricted to certain things you might find strange, which you'll find that they cut up certain things, certain herbs, burning it. That's all part of spells. having it smoke at night and having it smoke or having it smoke and then blowing. All these different affairs is connected with the first category, which is basically spells. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? We're casting a spell. The second type is just basically in a liquid form, a concocted, which is made, whether it be blood or whether it be, you'll find different types they'll use. They'll blow on it or read on it, but it's a liquid, and a person consumes it, and as a result of it, they might lose their mind. Or they might be inclined, and they'll find that their behavior and their conduct is very strange. When they lost their mind, like we said, it can lead to insanity, where a person can totally lose their mind. And it can lead to murder. And that's the reason why you'll find the beauty of Islam, highly prohibited magic, because it's from the deep levels of disbelief, in which we'll talk about, which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in his book prohibited. Prohibit the practice of sihr, of magic, due to the fact that it is a form of polytheism. It's a form of idolatry, in which Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala prohibited in his book. Highly prohibited this matter, especially magic. We'll also talk about there's other forms of magic. There's other forms, what they call takhyili, which I'll speak about in a minute, inshallah. Takhyili is, for example, is something that is imaginative. But basically, it deceives the eye. But it's not real. Like, for example, a person or a person that puts a nail or something sharp between his jaws and pulls it out, and it didn't affect him. Or they'll take fire and they'll put it and swallow it, and it didn't burn their mouth. You understand what I'm saying? There's other forms of magic which we'll discuss. All right? All that's going to come, inshallah. Which we'll talk about all the different types of magicians, David Blaine, and watching all these different people who are on the deep levels of disbelief. We'll talk about that, inshallah. Right. So these are from the different types. Is it clear so far what I'm saying, everyone? Right. Now sihr. Sihr itself breaks it down into two types. Now I'm going to go back to what I want to discuss. I'm talking about this, the ahadith of the Prophet ﷺ, what happened to him, alayhi salatu wasalam. Right, for sihr qisman. So magic is of what? Two categories. You have the first category, which is polytheism. It's idolatry. If you practice magic, your Islam is nullified. You're not Muslim no more. If you practice magic, where you cast a spell, or you do some type of concoctor, you form some type of liquid mixture, or different types of spells or incantations, or hanging something around your neck, or what have you. If you practice this and you do this, the general hukum is your Islam is nullified. And if you die in this state, you will be in the hellfire forever. Is it clear what I'm saying? We'll make that clear. You will be in the hellfire forever. As we're going to discuss, inshallah, the Prophet ﷺ said that magic is from as-sab'ul mubiqat. It's from the 7 great destructive sins. As the Prophet ﷺ named these type of what? These type of acts from the sab'ul mubiqat. From the 7 great destructive sins, which we'll talk about, inshallah. So sihr is of two categories. The first one is shirk, is polytheism. Due to the fact that the person utilizes the shayateen, utilizes the devils to do his dirty work. Whereas the sahir, or the one who's the magician, or the magician will worship them, draw close to them in order to utilize them to harm the mashur, to harm the person who he wants to harm, or he intends to harm. He utilizes the shayateen. But however, there is a deal that one has to what? Do in order for the shayateen to service him. You have to make a deal. The deal is you have to do some type of act of disbelief to remove yourself from the fold of Islam. And you'll find, and we'll get into the different details of this, inshallah. I gave one detail. For example, especially people who are in the low levels of magic, where you'll find that the shayateen tell them to do acts such as, for example, pray with blood on your body. Don't pray, make wudu. Strange affairs. Very, very weird and strange. Pray without making wudu. Take the Quran and spit on it. The shayateen loves this due to the fact that they're acts of what? Disbelief. As a result of it, when you do these acts, you are drawing close to them. You understand? Or for example, take the Quran and throw it in the toilet. Some type of act that will what? Allow them, as a result of it, to what? Service the sahir, service the magician. There's more acts and there's more examples. I'm going to give them, don't worry. Is it clear what I'm saying so far? Do strange, extremely strange and weird acts. The shayateen love this. And if you do it, as a result of it, they'll service you. And they'll aid you in what? It's your evil intention and your evil purpose. So y'all had the first type, which is what? Polytheism. Then you had the second type, which is what, everyone? Which is transgression and fisk. It's transgression and sin. It's transgression and sin. From the major sins. From the major sins. And that's due to the second. That applies to the second, which we're talking about right now. Which is, well, for example, of concoctus or what is made in a liquid form. Meaning it's so-called herbs or medicines or what have you. And in actuality, it's magic. Now, let's go to the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. Play. As we know the hadith on the authority of Aisha radiallahu anha, well, before we start talking about this matter and giving details in it, I think we'll start with the hadith. Hadith which comes on the authority of our mother Aisha radiallahu anha. He says that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu, I want everyone to listen to this. سحر حتى إنه لا يخيل إليه أنه يفعل الشيء وما يفعله وأنه قال لها ذات يوم أتاني ملكان فجلس أحدهما عند رأسي والآخر عند رجلي فقال ما وجع الرجل قال مطبوب قال ومن طبه قال لبيد ابن الأعصم لبيد ابن الأعصم في مشط ومشاطة وفي رواية مشاقة ومشاقة وفي جف طلعة ذكر في بئر ذروان. I'm also go to my one. On the authority of our mother Aisha radiallahu anha, قالت, the Prophet ﷺ was affected by magic. سحر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Before we get to this narration, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lays down the truth in His book after He talks about magic. As Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala speaks about it in His book and condemns it. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala established the haqq in regards to its reality by saying it is real. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has said that magic is what? It's real. And it can affect a person. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? However, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book, وَمَا هُمْ بِضَارِّينَ بِهِ مِنْ أَحَدٍ إِلَّا بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ وَيَتَعَلَّمُونَ مَا يَضُرُّهُمْ وَلَا يَنْفَعُهُمْ وَلَقَدْ عَلِمُوا لَمَنِ اشْتَرَاهُ مَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنْ خَلَاقٍ وَلَبِئْسَ مَا شَرُوا بِهِ أَنفُسَهُمْ لَوْ كَانُوا يَعْلَمُونَ. As Allah Ta'ala says in His book, in Surah Al-Baqarah, Allah Ta'ala that He says in His book, He said, وَلَقَدْ عَلِمُوا لَمَنِ اشْتَرَاهُ مَا لَهُ فِي الْآخِرَةِ مِنْ خَلَاقٍ. As far as the two angels, we'll get to tafsir of it. At any rate, as it says in the ayah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about when they will put the test for Malakani, Harut wa Marut. And it was sent as a test. I'm going to get into the tafsir of it because it's different aqwal. I don't have time to talk about it now. But anyway, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in His book about magic that verily they learn something, فَيَتَعَلَّمُونَ مَا يَضُرُّهُمْ وَلَا يَنْفَعُهُم. They learn something that will give them harm and it will not benefit them. And indeed they know who the one who purchases magic, they will have no portion of the hereafter of anything. Meaning, they will what? Die in a state of disbelief. How evil what they purchase if they only but knew. As Allah Ta'ala then said in His book, وَلَوْ أَنَّهُمْ آمَنُوا وَاتَّقَوْا لَمَثُوبًا. There's a point that I want everyone to be attentive of. Allah Ta'ala says, They, the magicians and magicians or sorcerers, cannot harm anyone except by Allah's permission. Allah Ta'ala's permission, bi'idnihi al-kawni. What Allah allows to happen in this existence of what we perceive of good and evil. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala allows by His permission of good and evil to take place in regards to what we perceive as good and evil. So Allah Ta'ala will allow magic, some people to be affected, and certain people will not be affected. Tayyib, the most beloved of creation, who's the greatest of all humanity after all the prophets and the messengers who walked on the face of this earth, who's the messenger of Allah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, who is Khalil ar-Rahman, who's the closest and the friend of Allah. And Allah spoke to him. And he's the greatest of the awliya of Allah was the messenger of Allah. And Allah, by His permission, allowed the messenger of Allah to what? Be affected. Is it clear what I'm saying? So it says in the hadith that the Prophet ﷺ, Suhira Nabi ﷺ, that he was affected by magic. Until, as it says in the narration, they said that it was imagined or made to him to imagine that he was doing something, but he did not do it. Tayyib. This I'm going to talk about what the great Imam Sheikh Muhammad Ahmad Jami said in regards to this narration, because it's something I want to discuss. It's going to come. Trust me, I have a whole lot of benefits I'm going to speak about. Tayyib. Listen to this narration, because this narration is in Al-Bukhari. There's a couple of narrations, but this is one of them. It says, on one day, the Prophet ﷺ was with our mother, Aisha. He was making dua. He said, ثُمَّ يَوْمَ دَعَى وَدَعَى. He was invoking Allah, calling on Allah. ثُمَّ قال, أشعرت أن الله أفتاني فيما فيه شفائي أتاني رجلان. He says, do you not see that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given me a cure? Aftani. Has given me something will be a reason for me being cured. In it was by the magic was what? Removed. I'm going to talk about it, inshallah. 2 men came to me. And another narration, 2 angels came to me. Atani malakani. Here it says, one of the angels had what? Sat by my what? By my head. The other sat by my leg, or by my feet, by my foot. Rijli. فقال أحدهما للآخر ما وجع الرجل. One said to the other, what is the reason for the pain of this person? ما وجع الرجل. Why is he suffering? Why is he in this pain? Why is he having this pain? One of the angels said he's matboob. Matboob. That he's been what? Mashur. Matboob means mashur. That he's being affected by magic. He's being affected by magic. Qal. Now listen to this part. The angel said, وَمَنْ طَبَّهُ. Allahu Akbar. So one of the angels said, who did magic upon him? Who did magic upon him? Listen to what the answer said to the angel. The angel said, Labid ibn al-A'sam. Allahu Akbar. Why am I saying Allahu Akbar? Why? Because Labid ibn al-A'sam, number 1, was a Jew, even though he was a Jew, number 1. Now listen to this. Labid ibn al-A'sam, as we talked about, and I said this about 10 times to you guys, and you guys should have this memorized. Labid ibn al-A'sam is the one who all of the Muslims are affected by the belief that Allah is everywhere and above the heavens, returns back to Him, which is the ideologies of the Jahmiyyah and the Mu'tazila, and if you want to say the Asha'ira, the Maturidiyya, all of those ideologies all return back to Him. Labid ibn al-A'sam. Labid ibn al-A'sam was the Jew who did magic upon the Prophet ﷺ. So you have Labid ibn al-A'sam. Then you have after him who was what? Aban ibn Sam'an. Then you have Talut. Then you have Ja'd ibn Dirham. Then you have Jahm ibn Safwan. That's the isnad of the deviant sect of the Jahmiyyah. The Jahmiyyah who's Jahm ibn Safwan. Then you have before Jahm ibn Safwan, Ja'd ibn Dirham. Before Ja'd ibn Dirham, you have Talut. Then before Talut, you have Aban ibn Sam'an. Aban ibn Sam'an took his knowledge from Labid ibn al-A'sam, the Jew who did magic upon the Prophet ﷺ. So the deviant sects of Islam, for those who believe that Allah is not above the arsh, He's not above the throne, started with this individual, which lets you know how black and evil this isnad is, this chain is, of narrators. That the deviant sects, which still the Muslims to this day are still affected, that this individual is the one who was what? Accused of performing magic upon the Prophet ﷺ. So notice that the angels said in the narration, what did they say? Who did magic upon him? Man tabbahu. They said Labid ibn al-A'sam. طيب. He says, قال في ماذا? Then the angel said, what did he do? What did he utilize to cast this spell upon him? It says, كان في مشط ومشاقة وجف طلعة ذكر. I'm going to explain that. That it was because of a comb or the little hairs that, as a result of combing on, we know when a person combs his hair, little hairs fall, right? Due to the hair or the comb and the little hairs that came out from one combing themselves or combing their hair. And it was cast inside of something of a what? Of a well. I'm going to talk about it, inshallah. It says, where is the well? Or where is this place? Matter of fact, let me stuff it out today. No. So the meaning of musht in the Arabic language, as we know everyone, masht or mushta in the Arabic language means comb. A comb, mushta. Well, you can say mishta, it doesn't matter. When one uses to comb his or her hair, beard, what have you. Mushalta is what comes out when a person is combing his hair or her hair. That's called mushalta, little hairs that fall. It's called mushalta or mushalqa, don't worry. That's from the little hairs that fall when you comb. Somebody you want to call your name, Amir? Or is it the other Amirs out here? Who wants to call him? Because he wants to reward today. And she wants to reward today. Huh? What happened? He's smiling? Oh. Oh no. الشياطين في التأني في كراتها القبر نعوذ بالله الله أكبر. اللهم رب هذه الدعوة التامة الصلاة القائمة آتي محمد الوسيلة والفضيلة وبعث مقام محمود الذي وعدته. طيب. So the meaning of mushaqa is the hairs that fall as a result of one combing themselves, whether it be beard, hair, what have you. Right, everyone? طيب. Notice it says in the narration, it says, Jef tala'i nakhla, or what they say, Jef tala'ati dhakar. Jef, what is the meaning of Jef tala'i nakhla, or dhakar? This meaning of this word here is like a risha. It was like a type of membrane, of some type of thick layer of membrane, which was on top of the pollen of where it was located, where it was some actual date palm trees. They said it was like a type of sheath, how can I explain it? Like a risha is like a membrane, like a little sheet. And you'll find that it was put on top of the tala', on top of the pollen or the plants on the top of the date palm trees, where the actual dates were, or something like that, to that effect. There was like something like a membrane that was on top of it. And he said that this was the location of where this individual practiced the magic. And this is what he did. He said that it was in a Jef tala'i nakhla, that it was in this type of membrane that was cast on top of the date palm tree, that this layer that was on there was at the top. And they used to say that this type of tree, it was yutlaq ala dhakar wal untha. They say that this type of, this is basically a usage in the Arabic language, if you want to say, for lack of better words, that they say, for example, that the tree, they used to say that some of them were males and some of them was like a female. So one narration it says that the location of this magic where it was done, that they said that it was around these date palm trees, in which, let's say it's in the narration right here, I'm just looking at it. No. So it says, An-Nabiyyu sallallahu matboob. He said, Labid ibn al-A'sam did it. He said he utilized a comb. And then he said also there was hairs that were made from those little hairs that dropped off. He says, and then he also utilized this type of membrane, which was put around the trees of the date palms, which was put at the top, or somewhere where it says at the tala', or at the top of the date palm tree, what have you. He said, then you'll find that the angel that it said, where is this actual location? What else did he do with it? Where, after he gathered all this together, did he put it somewhere? So he said that he put it in a well in a place called Dharwan. So the Prophet ﷺ went back to Aisha. So the Prophet ﷺ gave description to Aisha about when he did this with the comb, and put this membrane, took it off from the date, tied it all together, and cast it inside of a well. It was basically some type of concoctant he made to try to cast a spell upon the Prophet ﷺ, which is to let you know that the Jews was heavily in what? Magic. So he was a Jew, but he was what? Practicing magic. I want everyone to listen to this narration because there's a benefit at the end. I want everyone to be very, very, very attentive. So number one, you say it, the Prophet ﷺ, just to let you know that the Yahud was heavily involved in what? Practicing magic. From the people of the book. Also, the Christians are known for this too. And it's sad to say, some of the Muslims are known for this too. Right, everyone? For those Muslims who are ignorant of what we're just studying right now. Because you'll find, due to the lack of knowledge or following their desires, they fall into. We'll talk about that in a minute, inshallah. But this narration is to specify what? Why are you covering your ears? Oh, it's good. You cold? I'm high. So that shows that the Yahud, that they were heavily involved in practicing magic. Cast a spell upon the Prophet ﷺ. So the Prophet ﷺ then said that after he made this type of spell, he gathered it together, the comb, the hairs, this type of membrane that was found on top of the date palm, what have you, tied it together, made some type of concoction, threw it in a disgusting well. And it's nasty. It's really, really nasty, as I'm going to give the description. He says, well, where is it? He said it's in a place called Dharwan, a well, Dharwan. So the Prophet ﷺ said, he went back to Aisha. They said, he's given a description at the bottom of it. Because the Prophet ﷺ didn't actually go to it. But however, the angels in the revelation, what was revealed to him, allowed him to give the descriptions of how this thing was made and where its actual place was. So it's at the bottom of a what? A well. Now listen to the narration as it goes on to say. It says, Nuqa'ul Hinna. It was at the bottom of it that the water was it was as if it was infused with henna, where it made a very strange color, where the water of the well became red. So it's like it was infused with what? With henna, with henna. And it was put at the bottom of the well until the bottom of the well, the color of it became red. So when something is infused with henna, it usually changes a weird type of color, either gold, brown, or red in certain circumstances, right? Everyone depending on the type of henna that is used. Type. So now it was so due to the high stench or the foul stench of it, to the point where it changed its color, in which it was as if something disgusting was what? Mixed with it at the bottom of the well. And he said at the bottom of the well, it was mixed, and he said that the shape of it was as if it was the heads, meaning meaning that he said that the heads of this type of spell that was formulated and thrown at the bottom of the well. He said you'll find that the head of the date palm, how it was made, it was like the heads of the shayateen, meaning that it was in the utmost of what you will find repulsive as far as how it looked. It looked extremely strange and repulsive in its scenery and in its appearance. How uglified this thing was in its appearance. Now listen to this. Aisha said, Qultu, O Messenger of Allah, didn't you not remove it? In order to stop the spell. Didn't you not remove it? Did you take it out? Afala istakhrajta, O Messenger of Allah, did you remove it? Did you extract it? To stop the spell. What the Prophet ﷺ say? No, qad afani Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala what? Cured me. Now listen to this part. And I detested that now I would stir up or arouse with the people this affair. Why did the Prophet say this? I'll arouse the people now in this particular affair. Matter of fact, let me get another narration because there's another one. Because it's two in Bukhari. Let me go there. No, listen to this part. قالت عائشة يا رسول الله فهلا تعني تنشرت. O Messenger of Allah, did you practice nushra? That's another narration I'm going to talk about, inshallah. Prophet ﷺ said, I detest or I hate that I will arouse against the people some evil. The benefits extracted from this particular narration is the Prophet ﷺ did not want to tell the people of the Sahaba what happened, due to the fact, as we know in Medina, when Islam became strong, there were munafiqeen in the ranks. There were hypocrites in the ranks. Right? The Prophet ﷺ would announce and told the people what would have happened. Maybe the munafiqeen would have utilized this as a way to harm the Prophet ﷺ. So he didn't say anything. Due to the fact they would have heard he got affected by magic, they would try to do it. You get it? You understand? So that's the reason why you'll find the Ahl Ilm extracted from this narration. The benefit, as they call it, جلب الضرء المفاسد مقدمة على جلب المصالح. Removing or stopping a harm from occurring takes precedence or what? Attaining a benefit. Is it clear what I'm saying? So he didn't say anything. Out of fear that those munafiqeen would try to what? Utilize this as a method to harm the Messenger of Allah and no one would know. But the Prophet ﷺ, when he was now affected by this magic, Allah revealed to him how it was done, what form and what way it was done, who did it, and where it was located. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also what? Cured him. In order to teach the ummah different types of benefits from this narration. Number one, that magic is real. Number two, it can affect even a person that's righteous. It can affect a person that's righteous. And that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will allow one to be harmed by it for some type of wisdom. But however, magic will not harm anyone except by the permission of Allah ta'ala, of course. And that magic also is curable. It is. There's a cure for it. There is a cure and there is protection that one can use, so he can fortify himself from not being afflicted by magic. Yes, there are certain ways that one can protect himself from magic, which I do every morning and evening due to the amount of shayateen that are out here that are trying to destroy and harm the Salafis. And I make sure that I do it every morning and evening because I know Allah knows best. There's some sick shaitan out there trying to perform some type of magic on some of the du'at, on some of the callers here. I know there's one evil, jealous individual out there that are probably trying to afflict some of the du'at with some magic in order to bring down the da'wah. That's the reason why I do it every morning and evening. Inshallah, Allah sends a punishment right back to their neck. You understand? Pipe. So that's the reason why you'll find here, ma'ashal ikhwa, that the Prophet ﷺ said clearly, as for my Lord, he has cured me. You'll find that the Prophet ﷺ, he did something, which the great Imam, Sheikh Muhammad Aman Jami, I'll go back to the beginning of the narration. It says that it was given, he was affected as if it was put in his mind something that he would come to his family and do, but he would not do it. You'll find that the meaning of this narration is that he would actually set out to do it, but then he couldn't do it. I'm going to explain in next class, inshallah, because we got to pray. That he would stand to do something, carry it out to try to do it, but he couldn't. Thumma ya'jiz. Is it clear what I'm saying? He would stand up to do something, go to do it, and then he will what? Be rendered incapable of doing it. He wouldn't do it. He couldn't do it. Is it clear? He's memorizing. Clear? Is it clear or not clear? Now he knew he was doing it, but it's saying that his mind, he was doing, not his mind, his body couldn't do it. His body couldn't do it. I'm going to bring the explanation what Sheikh Muhammad Aman brings about this narration. Don't worry, I'll bring it in the next class. What he said about this narration specifically. But at any rate, brothers and sisters, this to show a numerous of benefits that's extracted from this narration here. There's a lot of benefits. From the benefits that's extracted from this narration, as I just mentioned, is that the Messenger of Allah ﷺ, he gave precedence to making sure that some type of evil would not take place. And he gave precedence to that over now trying to attain some type of what? Benefit. So he did not inform the people what happened. As it says about Aisha. From the benefits that's extracted from this narration is that one, remain patient upon some type of trial and tribulation that will befall him or her. Some type of test. Because that's a fitna. That person is tested with what? Magic. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? The person doesn't know of why Allah Ta'ala preordained certain affairs to save you. And certain things, as I've heard stories, I've heard certain things that have happened to brothers. And this to let you know you need to be careful. As I heard a story, me and I think our brother, me and Hassan was talking, me and him was telling me the story about a brother, Hassan Suman. Akhun al-Fadil, Hassan Suman was telling me the story. He's saying that there was a brother that, I think he was in Yemen. He said he was trying to marry a sister. Here we go, it's a woman. He was trying to marry a sister, and it's as if every time he tried, something happened where he couldn't marry her. So he'd become busy, or maybe something will happen would get in the way of marrying this particular sister. Something will get in the way. Something will happen. So he kept pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. You know us. We always, especially when it comes to women, I'm trying to marry her. Pushing it and pushing it and pushing it. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was making it difficult. Something always happened where he could not marry the sister. He was getting mad, frustrated, trying to marry the sister to the end of it, right? Like, ultimately, he married her. Finally, after all the trials and all the fitna, got what he wanted. What happened in the end? Did magic upon him. She did magic upon him. And they said after that, he was never the same. He said his mind kind of lost his mind. He said after that particular incident, he was not the same. So you never know why Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala preordains certain affairs. When certain things happen, man, I can't marry this sister. Well, I can't marry this brother, man. It's always something. Allah knows by protecting you from something. Things have happened to me in my life. Strange things that I found out later. It was some evil that I was being protected from. You understand? So the sister ended up doing magic upon him. So he what? So he kind of like lost his marbles. May Allah protect us. Is it clear what I'm saying? Tayyib. So that's the reason why, everyone, you need to watch it. Be very careful. What Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will preordain. For certain things he might make difficult for you, for benefit. And for some good that Allah knows you don't know. Understand what's up? Tayyib. So it says in the first narration, we'll stop, inshallah. Matter of fact, what time does Salah come in? 8:22? Or 8:22? Oh, we'll stop, inshallah. We gotta stop. Fadl, Ahmed. Fadl. Mm-hmm. No. It's not medicine that made by doctors, no. We're talking about magicians. They get these little weird type of concoctings and different types of herbs and different types of things and cut it up. And they'll blow on it and maybe light some fire on it, or they might throw a little bit of blood on it. That's magic. You understand? Voodoo is also magic. We'll talk about that in a minute too. Further, Ahmed. It was coming back to him.
Yeah, it was like the little cars coming back to him.
That's still a form of magic. It's a form of magic, but that's called At-Tawheed. We're going to get to the details of that. That's called imaginative magic. It's still magic, though. It's still magic. One shouldn't do it. Like, for example, the person, they be in a box, look like somebody cut their head off and then extra out, and he comes and then puts his head back, act like. That's all imaginary magic. We'll talk about that. Or hallucination. Something that's called hallucinant. Or what will cause you to hallucinate. Something that you see, but it's not actually what the reason for of what you would think. For example, what these magicians do, like David Blaine, they would get inside of water tanks. They cover themselves and they walk off from somewhere else. You understand? It's basically illusionary. Ahsant. It's called illusionary. It's an illusion. That's still magic, still impermissible. Still a major sin. Hold on for the. No, that's not magic. A boomerang is not magic. No. Sarf. Sarf is going away. Atf is falling in love. The Atf. The Ayn Ta Fa. Atf. The Atf. The Atf in Arabic language means like having sympathy and love. But here it means, in the context of how we're saying a person becomes madly in love with someone until they become insane. Or they become for example, what they call ilah. What's the word? Yeah. They're not possessive. What's the word? Obsessive. They become obsessed with the person. Now, infatuation, that's not. No, I'm talking about you're obsessed with that person. Like you're crazy. They lead to the point where you're insane. You're insanely in love with a person. Let's put it this way. You're insanely in love with the person. Like no matter what you think, you just keep thinking about them all the time. That's now reached the level of what they call ishq. I'll say ilah. Ilah is also part of it. The ishq means obsession. The ashiq means a person is obsessed. Huh? Oh yeah, I know. We'll talk about them later. Huh? That's alcohol. Hold on for a second. That's true. It depends. It depends if the person, for example, if it was put in a drink where it was an actual magician concocted to utilize the shayateen, they blowing in certain things. If that was the case, that's magic. If it was somebody who was a magician, and they put it in a drink, and it caused the person to lose their mind, that's magic. That's the reason why if you look back in the old days, they used to call it wines and spirits. Why do they call it spirits? Look it up. Why do you think they call it wines and spirits? I know that. But look to find on Google, I want you guys tonight to find why do you think they call it spirits? You understand? Wines and spirits. Look it up. But at any rate, the point is, if you look, if a person puts something inside of a drink, it causes one to lose their mind. If a person mixes something, whether it be blood or what have you, no matter what it is, and they put it in there, makes a person lose their mind, they become insane, that is a form of magic, especially if they use some type of herbs or concoctants or something with the shayateen or some type of spell. But if you use something that's what they call chemoe, if it's chemically formed or chemically based, that's not magic. But however, it's poison. It's a form of poison, and we know that's a form of what? Killing or murdering someone. Even though both are still what? Both are still considered, one is considered kufr, the other is considered murder. We know that's from the kaba'ir, from the major sins, of course. So it depends. If it's chemical based, or it makes a person lose their mind, it's not magic, because it was a chemical. But if it was a person that was put in a drink and they was a known magician, or they formed or formulated some type of concoctant, they might have put some blood in it, or some herbs in it, cut it up, or blow or light on the fire, and then making some type of incantation or some type of spell and throwing it on it and then covering it up and giving it to the person, they drink it, that's magic. But if it's chemically based, that's not magic. Is it chemicals? I don't know either, you have to tell me. If a so-called, what they call Mickey or whatever it is, if it's chemical based, that's not magic. If it's chemical based. What? Why they call it wines and spirits? Tafadal, don't make it long because we got to pray. Tafadal. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So basically, it's chemical based, but it also gives you a feeling like of so-called some weird type of state that you're in, and that's what alcohol does. But at any rate, to make a long story short, if it's a person that has put some magic on it, then that's a magician. But if it's chemical based, that's not sihr, but it's a major sin because you're trying to kill somebody. That's from the kaba'ir. That's qatl. You understand? So if it's chemical based, it's not magic. No. What'd you say, Suhaya? Say it one more time. No, I mean it's like to me it's just playing around. You're just playing around. It's just being a little kid that's doing things you shouldn't do. That's all it is. Tafadhal. No, afterwards it says narration says the Prophet ﷺ was affected. Then the two angels came to the Prophet ﷺ and told and one sat at his head and his foot and informed him. That came after the fact. You notice in the narration of Bukhari, it says that the angels asked. They said, "Man tabbahu?" Qala Labid ibn al-A'sam. So the angels informed the Prophet ﷺ from the revelation that who's the one that made magic or cast magic upon the Prophet ﷺ? He said Labid ibn al-A'sam. So it says it clearly. And Labid ibn al-A'sam is what everyone keep in mind. He was the Jew who's responsible for the Jahmiyyah. He's the Jew that was responsible for the Jahmiyyah and the Mu'tazila and all the ideologies of the belief that Allah is not above the Arsh. All goes back to Jahm ibn Safwan, then before him, Ja'd ibn Dirham, and before him, Talut, then Aban ibn Sam'an, then Labid ibn al-A'sam. That's a Isnad Aswad. It's a black Isnad. Person that did magic upon the Prophet ﷺ is the one who to this day has the greatest effect on the Muslim world all around the world. The beliefs that Allah is not above the heavens and not above the Arsh, and that Allah doesn't have names, He doesn't have attributes, or they mean something else, or that they are twisted to another meaning, or to mean that doesn't mean this, rather it means that. It all goes back to Labid ibn al-A'sam, the one who did magic upon the Prophet ﷺ. You understand? And that's who the angels named him. The angel said his name. It said, "Man tabbahu qal Labid ibn al-A'sam." And he was a Yahoo from Zurayq, Bani Zurayq. They said he was the Halif. But one narration says he was a Jew. And one narration says he was Halif. He was a person that basically came in the tribe of the Jews amongst them to do work or to aid them. But one narration it sets it clear. It says he was a Yahudi. He was a Jew. So let's say maybe it was both. He was a Halif and he truly was a Yahudi. He was a Jew. Is it clear what I'm saying, everyone? Anything else? Because we got to pray. We have to pray. Trust me, there's more to come. We'll discuss about numerology. We'll discuss about all these affairs. And the thing that I'm focusing on right now is zodiac signs. Put the warning out to those people. If you practice zodiac signs, you believe in that nonsense, you are committing major polytheism. Major. Ain't minor. Major. Shirk Akbar. If you are now practicing what? Anything belief that, not magic, belief in zodiac signs. If you practice belief in zodiac signs, reading fortune cookies, all of that is polytheism. Major. Yes. Absolutely not. For jealousy out of Tawheed, I would take that cookie and throw it in the garbage. For a person who truly loves the monotheism of Allah would take that fortune cookie and throw it in the garbage. Not in the restaurant, of course. You want to do that. That's not from Hikmah. But take that and take it and put it in the garbage. You don't do it in front of them. You take the Chinese. No, that's not Hada laysa min hikmah. That's not from wisdom. But take the cookie and just as soon as you're walking out, oh, thank you. You understand? That. Anyone who has jealousy for the monotheism of Allah would never even put something like that in their mouth. You understand? Oh, fortune cookie. Fortune cookie to tell my fortune? Some piece of paper racked up in the form of a cookie. It really has some effect on my life? That's absolute nonsense. It's absurd. Fortune cookie. This is spiking your insulin and making you even more out of pocket. Unhealthy. Anything else, brothers? Because we got to pray. Bro, people are waiting. Huh? put the warning out to, I say, to any sister practicing zodiac signs. Put them exactly what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala said. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُمْ بِاللَّهِ إِلَّا وَهُمْ مُشْرِكُونَ. It applies to them. They do not believe, majority of them in Allah, except that they are what? Setting up partners in polytheism in His worship to ta'ala. That ayah applies to them and the chapter. That from the people from our ummah who will worship idols. That is a form of idolatry. It's a belief that the stars has some type of effect on your life, whether it be generally, meaning amongst existence, meaning what takes place in this world from the different events that we see take place, or individually or specifically in your life. If you believe some star and the basic position upon the star and the space has some effect over your life, that is major polytheism. Not even the polytheists during the time of the Prophet ﷺ believed in this nonsense. They didn't even believe in that. The only thing that the polytheists during the time of the Prophet ﷺ is to believe that what? They did not believe that anything other than Allah had any type of what? Any type of domination or power. The problem is that they used to take their idols between them and Allah as what? Mediators and intercessors. That's it. That was their kufr. And that was enough for them to be in hell forever. That was enough. That was sufficient. Right? But what about somebody who goes beyond that level, that falls in the type of disbelief, not even the mushrikeen that the Prophet ﷺ fell into, where they never believed that the stars had some effect on their life. You understand what I'm saying? The stars are based upon the position of it in space, has some type of effect over your life. That's absurd and absolute nonsense. That's saying that, I'm a Libra. A Libra gets along with a Leo, and a Leo gets along with a Libra or a Capricorn. Especially in this month, we're going to have a good love life. Ya akhi, a'udhu billah. You understand what I'm saying? Like I said, inshallah, I'm going to get a khutbah on this Friday. Because I've been talking about this, but I've said this. This the weird thing is I've said this. Actually, I repeat myself, maybe people know that I repeat myself maybe 20 or 30 times. It even gets on people's nerves sometimes. And still to the point people what? Still don't get it. And they going to comprehend. You understand? People have known since the dawah. And this is no fadl, this is la hawla minni wa la quwwah. This is not from me, my might, my strength. They know that this is what I've been pumping for years. Years talking about the Tawheed of Allah. This is something that's known. For over maybe almost now, it's getting to 20 years. Focusing on the Tawheed of Allah. I gave the khutbah in the Tawheed of Allah from beginning to the end. Finished it in the khutbah. About 2.5 years straight. Finished it in the khutbah. And I asked Sheikh Ubaid about it. Sheikh Ubaid said, Ahsant ma fa'alt. He said, excellent what you did. He said, if you get some time, people need to learn fiqh too. Because they need that also. He said, give a khutbah, teach them wudu. They need that. Anyway, people, I've been teaching stuff for years, pounding in their head. You still practicing zodiac signs, brothers and sisters? Seriously? This is nonsense. You full covering the niqab, 7 layers of garments with one eye out, and you what? Believe in this nonsense? The whole reason why you covered has been nullified. It's useless. The reason why you're covered is useless now. You believing in that? You understand? You understand, everyone? Fine, stop here, inshallah. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.